These are the bits which will be delivered to the customer in one single box, separated into different sections. This will be the core, which will be presented like that in its own box, the foam packaging on the top and bottom. Obviously check for damage. Pre-installed lid, which operates the light sensor as well to bring the lighting on the inside of the electronics. Brushes with 2 screws in each side of the brush. I generally put all the screws in at about a turn each, and then you can just clip the side panel straight on once you've mounted it on the wall, obviously. All the termination points will be numbered and colour coded in reference to what will be coming out of the top, so going to the electronics. Also I have an RJ45 connection on there for internet. There on an RJ45 termination point for your live incoming cables. Small glands there for your Cat6 or your twisted pair, one for your RJ45 or one for your solar / adaptive loading input. One gland, 20mm gland at the bottom for termination of the mains cable. Entry points at the rear, should you want to mount the unit with a rear cable entry, so not showing any cables, and a bottom entry which will need to be drilled out to enter through there. These will come all in one box. These are the cover panels for the output cable, the input cable and the cable entry points at the bottom. So these are the covers which will come in one bag, separated in small separate bags. All the screws which are supplied, they're all generic, so they're the same screws which are used in the brushes. If they're a 2mm black Allen key screw, they will be all the same. The bag will also include the screws for the cable management clamp, held on via these 2 screws to retain the output charging cable. You will also get the top lid, 4 small self-tapping screws. They don't actually enter a hole, so you have to line the lid up. You've then got the bottom plate, which is the plastic plate with the 3 screw holes in it, and the 2 feet at the back which will click into place. The side panels and top plate will come in a separate box, again colour coded to what the customer's ordered. As long as the ribs, the larger ribs and the smaller ribs are that way round, top and bottom, they can go either way. Obviously including the lid, check for damage as they're unpackaged. The front panel will then come in a separate box as well. This is obviously the wooden front panel, which will come complete with the badge. It will come with foam on the top and bottom to protect it. Obviously check for damage once it's unpacked. On the back side there's the plate which retains the wooden front. You've got mounting points which hook into place onto the core, light tubes for the green, amber and red lights which will transfer through to the front. The output cable will then come in its own bag depending on what the customer's ordered, labelling up 5.5 metres or 8.5 metres, or if it's a 3-phase setup it will be a 6.5 metre 5-core cable. Right, that's what you get in the box. Now let's mount the core on the wall. Right, start by putting the cover plate on the wet area where the cable entry will be. We now install the IP rated terminal cover for your input cables and your data cabling. That slots into place like that. You then get your output cable, which with your pre-fitted compression gland. Output cable, thread the cables through a 25mm hole, and install the nut, which will then hold the cable gland in place. They're pre-glanded so you get the correct height for the cable management. The first connection is for your CP, which is the white cable. You've then got your earth connection, then neutral, and then live. You've then got an earth, a neutral, a live, and then 2 extra live terminals should you go for a 3-phase option. You then want to install the final IP rated cover over the output cable terminals. Then to install the bottom panel, clips into place, 3 screws to hold that into place as well. So we then want to install the side panels, again not handed at all. Larger ribs must be at the top, smaller ribs at the bottom. Then click into place, push back towards the wall. The brush is left in place but loosely screwed in. Ensure that you push the panel down and tighten the first 2 top screws to keep it in place. To make sure that the top panel is pushed down so it lines up with the lid correctly. And that's the left panel installed. We can then install the right hand panel, again larger rib at the top, smaller ribs at the bottom. Slide into the grooves, push them back. That will hold it in place. Keep some pressure on the top of the panel so the alignment of the lid is right, and tighten the 2 top retaining screws to keep it in place. And do up the retaining screws on the brush. We'll then move on to mounting the lid. The front and the back is the back and the front, it doesn't matter what way round. Lay the core lid down, locate as best you can, and then squeeze into place. You've still got a bit of tolerance from left to right, but locate it as best you can between the 2 side panels so you've got equal gap. What I would suggest is, once you've done that, lift the lid up, get 1 retaining screw, hold the lid as tightly as you can in place because it will roll to the right hand side when you do the screws up. To ensure you pinch it nice and tight so it doesn't move. Check the alignment, lift the lid and install the rest of the screws. Now that's aligned, we do the front panel. Wood or metal, these are exactly the same. The light tubes are exactly the same, the badge is exactly the same. The 2 smaller hooks will locate into the lower part of the core. The larger mounting point with the 3 hooks on will locate in the top part of the core. And then push down like that. And have 2 silver panhead screws and screw them into place, holding them into the top bracket. Once the front panel's on, wind the output cable in before the handover to the customer. Lift the flap and the plug disappears in the top. Once the build is complete and all the terminations have been done, you want to use your EV charge simulator to then check the charge status, all the relevant electrical checks which need to be done for the cable installed. Then you want to move on to the app setup with the customer. Once that's complete, the handover is done. All you will need to do is fill out the check sheet, get the customer to sign the satisfaction note and tick the relevant boxes for your installation. And then we're done. That is the install completed.